Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Should You Play, where I show you some spoiler-free gameplay and give you my thoughts after playing new games for a few hours, while also highlighting and checking out at least one of the PlayStation Plus games for each month. In this video I'm playing one of the February 2025 PlayStation Plus games, Payday 3, the cooperative first-person shooter that released in 2023 and is the follow-up to the beloved Payday 2. Payday 3 has been out for a little over a year now, and despite it becoming one of the best-selling video games of all time in the US and UK, it's been through a lot. From a massive online-only launch that caused server failures for days, a lack of content release, and a player base that has seemingly decided to go back to Payday 2. A year and several updates later, the game is in much better shape than it was, but there's still a lot I want to talk about here, so let's get into it.
Alright, let's do this.
If you've played any of the Payday games before, you'll know that they don't have traditional narrative structures, and are instead built around a series of heists that your gang can jump into in whichever order you'd like. If you really want to know about the story, it's loosely structured around the events following Payday 2, where the Payday Gang has gone their separate ways, but after losing all of their money, are pulled back into a life of crime. There are some light narrative elements within the mission briefs that will tie the story together a bit, but really, the focus is on the individual jobs rather than reaching a satisfying conclusion.
There's an exhibition of priceless artworks at a gallery in Brooklyn. We're going to steal them.
Payday 3 is a cooperative first-person shooter in which you attempt to pull off various types of heists with a team of other players. The game has objectively better gunplay, more refined shooting, and improved enemy AI compared to Payday 2, but also still gives you the choice between going in stealthily or shooting your way to your objective. Though I will note that some of the missions feel like they're designed for loud approaches, and trying to go in silently will be doomed to fail regardless of how coordinated your team might be.
Piece of shit.
Fuck! The crypto wallet's dead! We need to go to plan B!
In order to get into a mission, you can jump into one of four modes: Play Online, Quick Play, Solo Mode Beta, or Tutorial. But aside from the tutorials, these are just three different ways of getting into the same type of missions, with Play Online and Quick Play letting you play with other players, and Solo Mode Beta setting you up with AI partners. Though I personally recommend sticking to playing online, as your AI partners are borderline useless and won't assist with anything other than combat. When it comes to missions to tackle, there are 12 different heists that you can go on, with an additional 4 through DLC content. There's a good amount of goals and objectives within these missions that keeps the gameplay engaging, with tasks such as hacking, securing valuables, and escaping without being caught or killed. But there's little variety in objectives between the heists, and you'll start to notice reoccurring ones, such as gather in this circle and survive without any cover, or stand over here and wait while an objective progresses on a timer.
30 seconds until they hit you. Focus, people!
One thing to note as well is that Payday 3 isn't very beginner-friendly. There are a series of tutorials that you can go through to learn about the various aspects of play in the game, but instructions are often unclear and cause more confusion than guidance. For example, in the first tutorial, you're asked to set up a zipline to escape, and an indicator is set up for you to go to. However, it's not made clear that you actually need to throw the zipline bag into the indicator to set it up, rather than stand in it and hit another button to do so. This trend carries over into the actual heist as well, as waypoints aren't very indicative of what actually needs to be done. And sometimes you'll just be left with vague instructions such as search for the accounting office or find the vault code, without being provided a map or directions of any kind, leaving newer players running around aimlessly while waves of police arrive trying to kill you. When it comes to multiplayer, this is the foundation of the gameplay in Payday 3, and it has its pros and cons. On the plus side, matchmaking is often very quick, and it rarely took longer than 20 or so seconds for the game to find me 3 other players to group up with. On the other side, the matchmaking system can be a bit frustrating, and it feels like it sometimes benefits griefers, letting them run out the excessively long 5-minute timer on the setup screen, or allowing them to completely ignore the mission objective while the rest of the team is getting shot at. Griefing is of course going to be a potential issue in nearly any co-op game, but some simple quality of life changes like reducing the timer length or adding in some kick options could help mitigate these problems. A smaller issue with online play is that there doesn't seem to be level-based matchmaking, resulting in the game often pairing players with people who are 20 or 30 levels apart from them. On top of that, not many players seem to use the in-game voice chat system to communicate either, so coming up with detailed heist plans as a team isn't a very viable option with random players.
Get your game face on!
Fortunately, the game is a lot more fun with a group of friends that you can talk and strategize with during chaotic moments, but I imagine that more players are utilizing the matchmaking system than getting a group of friends together beforehand. As for cosmetics, weapons, and other additional content, the money that you earn from completing heists can be used to unlock all of that. You'll be restricted in what you can and can't buy depending on what level you are, but money can be used to purchase weapons, suits, masks, and other cosmetics, as well as C-stacks, which can be used to purchase more unique and special items and cosmetics. As you continue to play the game, you'll start to level up your weapons as well, which unlocks stat boosts and other customization options. However, it can often feel like a grind to do so, and when you unlock or purchase new weapons, the weapon level doesn't carry over, so you'll be switching to something that's weaker than what you're used to. Cosmetics, on the other hand, are exactly that, and don't affect gameplay at all. You can play as a variety of different characters with different masks, suits, and gloves, but it's more about personal preference and won't affect how stealthy or accurate you are in combat. Visually, Payday 3 shows off its graphics with more improved lighting, character models, and environmental details compared to Payday 2, giving it a cleaner and more realistic look with better reflections and more dynamic environments. However, I have to be honest and say that's still a bit underwhelming for a modern game. There are inconsistent textures and some assets that are just flat or undetailed, but the bigger issue is the lack of a distinct art style, as it appears to be very shooter generic in design, as opposed to Payday 2, which was a bit grittier and had a more stylized look. The visuals get the job done, but they don't really stand out as special, and while I wouldn't write the game off for this alone, it's something that would have been nice to have stayed consistent between the games. Because of technical issues, Payday 3 was nearly unplayable at launch, having issues ranging from server failures and reduced frame rates to mission objectives not registering during gameplay, but things have improved significantly since then.
These notes are all over the place.
There are still some little bugs here and there, such as enemies ragdolling a bit too much after being taken out, the occasional flying weapon, as well as some clipping, but that's nowhere near what it was at the start. That said, two issues that still persist are the occasional server disconnections, as well as the long load times between the missions and the main menu, as even on PS5, it can sometimes take more than a full minute just to get from the title screen to the main menu. While Payday 3 can be a lot of fun under the right circumstances, it doesn't really feel like a finished product to me. There's a lot of repetition in the heists and the objectives, and the overall experience can feel a bit too much like a grind, even more notably at higher levels. The server issues and lack of content at launch were big setbacks, but even now, the game still lacks depth in areas like customization, variety, performance, and even personality, especially when compared to Payday 2.
Yeah, I know.
If you're a fan of the franchise, you'll likely still find a lot to enjoy here, as the combat has noticeably improved and the level designs are well thought out. But either way, it's definitely a game that you'll have a better time with if you're playing with friends that you can communicate with, rather than taking your chances with the random matchmaking. As always though, this is just my opinion. Whether you've been pulling off a series of successful heists already, or you keep getting caught by the police, let me know in the comments what you think of Payday 3.
Time to switch plans.
Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.